Hello everyone, we'd like to welcome you to Come Up Higher Ministries. They're doing their annual Before, During, and After I Do Relationship Conference. It's taking place April 21st at the Greenbelt Marriott, and we invite you to come out. But right now we're going to do a snippet of what you're going to expect and what you're going to see on April 21st. So now we're going to turn it over to one of our awesome women that's the sponsor and the host, the beautiful, beautiful lady here. She's going to give you some more insight on the conference. Please introduce yourself and tell us more about the conference.
I am Reverend Robbie Smiley, the visionary for Come Up Higher Ministries, and I am just so excited to bring this relationship conference to the DMV. It's for the single, the married, engaged, divorced, and even widowed. And today I am so excited to have Connie Gilmore here with Premature Widow. She's going to share a little bit about her ministry and what we can expect on the 21st. So register today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So hi, Connie.
Hello.
And welcome back, Reverend Robin. How are you guys?
Good, thank you.
And for those out there, I am Paula. So we're going to have fun on the set today. We're going to get some more insight on what we're going to do on the 21st. And men, you are invited. So don't just think because it's all women that it's just going to be about us. So please come out, men as well. Now, Miss Connie, you're looking so pretty. I'm going to steal all of your jewelry. I love it.
Thank you.
So we're going to ask you a few questions about Premature Widow. I'm single, so I'm here to be educated today. So
Okay.
my first question is to you. Tell me about your Boaz. Tell me about him.
Oh, so I met my husband when I was 11 years old.
Wow.
We grew up in church together. We went to the prom together. So we had a lengthy friendship. His father was my pastor at the time growing up. And so we grew up in church and we did church activities and everything together. High school sweethearts, the whole thing. And so we got married and grew our family, and we were married almost 15 years. And then sickness came. And so, and it came in a fashion where he was not sick unto death. You know, he was in and out of the hospital every now and then. They patch him up. He'd come back home. Everything was going well. And then an infection came and, you know, things changed. And so in that time frame, of course, at that time, he was 38. I was 40 years old. And widows did not look like me.
Right.
Widows looked like my mother.
Exactly.
My grandmother.
Right. Exactly.
But they did not look like me. And so I could not find anybody that could relate to where I was.
Yeah.
My youngest child was 6 years old at the time, and there was no one that knew what was going on. And so I researched, and there was nothing. And I met one young lady at a former job where I worked who had recently lost her husband in my same age bracket. And I said, I've got to do something.
Yeah.
And so Premature Widow, the Lord gave me that, and that's where the vision came from.
Amen.
And it's grown to help young widows.
You developed a ministry.
I developed a ministry. So I took the excruciating pain of losing my very best friend and turned it into something that's helping so many women.
Awesome, Connie. Thank you. That's an awesome story.
Thank you.
Awesome. And bless your heart, your cotton socks, honey. Now, you said you were married for 15 years. I got that. So tell me, even during your marriage, I know there was the best of times and there was the worst of times.
Absolutely.
So can you give us a snippet of what the best of times was? What do you remember that was so fantastic?
So I just remember the way he loved me.
Yeah.
And the way he made me feel. And that was always, you know, he was full of surprises, always, you know, send, you know, flowers for no reason. He was that guy. But all the days weren't those days. And so there were a lot of you know, he was a minister, so there was church involved. I was married into a first family, which comes with its own set of challenges.
Yes.
So we had those challenges. We were raising children together, you know. So all the days were not sunshine. But through those things, you know, I had to learn how to, you know, be the wife and let him be the husband and let him lead the home.
Now, how do you, because my sister is a first lady, and she met her husband when she was in high school.
Oh, okay.
They're still married. So tell me, how do you, or do you divide minister, husband? Is there a fine line? Do you do minister when you're like visible in the church, and then is it husband when you get home, or do you collaborate the two and you just run with it?
So I think at one point in time we tried to collaborate the two,
Okay.
and soon realized that we needed to separate them.
Okay.
Because of course, home was the first ministry,
Okay.
and so we wanted to make sure that our children had as much of a normal life as possible, that we could be family and we could go to the local restaurants or Six Flags
Right.
or all those other
Yes.
things that other families do.
Yeah.
But when we were at church, it was ministry,
Yeah.
and we did that as a family. And I'll be completely honest, there were times where we may not have been on one accord
Uh-huh.
the morning of church.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you know, we may not have agreed
Right.
that morning, but when we got to
Exactly.
church,
That's real.
That's real life.
Real women.
But
Yeah.
when we got to church, we were on one accord.
Right.
Nobody knew that we weren't
Right.
on, you know what I mean? But that was stuff that I had to learn over
Yeah.
time. I didn't go into the marriage knowing how to do those things.
Right.
And just being a support to him, regardless
Amen.
of how I may have been feeling personally about something that was going on at
That's
home,
right.
had nothing to do with ministry. And so it is a very fine line, but you have to be able to navigate on both sides of that line
Right.
to make the home work. So
And give me just a sample of what could be considered as the worst of times. I know you said sometimes there were bumpy roads, but give me an example of something you can remember that in its own state,
right.
it worked itself out.
I think probably the issue of time.
Yeah, time management.
Yeah, time management, because with him being in ministry and
Yes.
having to be at church all the time,
Yeah.
and everything kind of revolved around church.
Yeah.
So I had to be very intentional, and sometimes my being intentional might have come off to him probably being nagging, because
Yeah.
we can do
Yeah.
that. And so about let's do something
Together.
outside of
Yeah,
church.
yeah.
Does every Friday night have to be at the church? That type of thing. But so those times, and especially when we were younger, it was very challenging.
Okay.
We did have a very strong family circle around us that we were able to watch
Yeah.
and see some of those things and see
Right.
how to make those things work. And so I think that I had to learn how to talk to him,
Yeah.
and to express myself without making him feel as if I was badgering him, because he was already getting beat up enough sometimes in ministry. So I didn't want to beat him up at home.
Okay.
But at the same time, I needed some things too, in
Right.
terms of time. The kids needed time. I wanted date night, but date night is few
Right.
and far between
Right.
when you're dealing with somebody
Right.
in ministry. And so you have to carve those times out. But as time went on, we were able, but that was a very challenging time,
Yeah, I can
because,
imagine.
feeling like I'm always home by myself.
Yes.
I'm taking care of the kids all, most of the time, because he's always at the church. And so you want to be supportive, but at the same time, you're looking around and most of the time you're home alone.
Right.
And so, am I married? Where's my husband?
Right.
And that type of thing.
Yeah.
But, I think, much prayer, and communication with one another,
Yeah.
and letting each other know what the needs are, and in a loving kind of way, because sometimes we can
Yeah.
come off a little too harsh.
Yeah.
And then, if you come off harsh, he's going to respond harshly.
Right.
And then that's going to turn into another situation.
Right.
And so having to learn that. And then, obviously, when you get to the sickness and then health
Yeah.
in the marriage,
Yeah.
and then when you're young, because
Yes.
when you're a young wife and you have to become a caregiver,
Right.
that's not what they don't teach us. That.
Exactly.
And so nobody taught me how to care for him
Exactly.
when he
Yes.
was unable to care for himself.
Yes.
And so and then you're still a mom. I'm still working full time.
There you go.
All these things are still happening, but he has a need.
Yes.
And so that
And so does the household.
And so does the
And so
household.
does the children.
But so do
And
I.
so do you.
And so do I.
So tell me, how did the premature widow platform help you? Give me some, give the widows out there some insight on how that helped you, not totally forget, but to come into grips with it, and you're still able to continue your daily activities, you're on with your ministry. Tell me, how did that help?
So, Premature Widow is really a community of sisterhood.
Okay.
And so it became part of my life. And it was very, you have your
And
siblings.
it's just for the sisters.
It's just at this particular point.
Okay.
It's just
Okay.
for widows. And
Okay.
so, and you have your family members and well-intended friends and all that, but it's nothing like having a dialogue with someone who has been where you are.
Yeah.
Or who's going through it with you. And so that was very important. People that had, women that had children of around the same age, so that the children, because one of the first things my daughter said was, I'm not like other children anymore. because the children at school have their father and their mother, and now I don't have my dad, you know, and so that was very difficult for me. So it was important for me to surround myself and my children around like children that were in the same situation. And so because of that, we're able to, you know, we fellowship together, we pray together, we encourage each other. It could be 1, 2 in the morning. You know, we have a system of sisterhood where we support one another, because it's a very tedious journey when you're, you know, young and widowed. And, you know, I have my mom who's a widow. I have my mother-in-law who's a widow. But, you know, they had 40 plus years of marriage. You know, their children were grown. Their grandchildren were grown. They had built their lives. We weren't at that phase. And so what happens when you feel like your life has been, you know, torn from you, and you've not been able to, we can't sit on the porch and grow old together. All those things that you had planned. And so I often encourage the widows to connect, you know, with Premature Widow, and that way you're able to connect with other women who know what you're experiencing.
Now, how do people there, how do they connect with you?
So we're on Instagram and Facebook as Premature Widow, and I can be emailed directly at prematurewidow@gmail.com. And I'm always very responsive, and you know, I try to give individual, I do individual attention as well as group attention. And it's just, you know, it's grown, and it's blessed the widow, but it's also blessed the married, and it's blessed the single, because you know, there's so many married women that I see, witness, you know, at work, in different places. And I know I probably was guilty of it when I was married, but you take it for granted. You take for granted that today is promised. That when you leave to go to work in the morning, that he's going to come back, you're going to come back home to each other. And that's not always the case, because there have been, while my husband was ill, I have several widows in my group that dealt with sudden death. I mean, in their sleep, 36 years old, massive heart attack. You know, or come home from work and he's unresponsive. You know, things you don't expect, but you take it for granted. You leave home, you don't say goodbye, you don't kiss, you don't tell them you love them. All those things, you know, we nag about the seat being down, and you know, clothes off the floor, and all those things that I wish I had the opportunity today to fuss about. You know, and so sometimes, you know, you have to take a, you know, take a different perspective on your marriage and on life in and of itself, because it's so fleeting. And, you know, love while you can. I have one regret, and that's that I didn't marry him the day he asked me to, because I would have had more time with him. But see, I didn't know that then, and you don't know. And so because you don't know, you know, but now I breathe a different air. I look at life so differently, and so I just try to encourage people to do that in their relationships, marriage, you know, sibling relationships, family relationships, all of those things, relationships as a whole, because, you know, you just don't know.
You are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Now, I know you said you were married for 15 years. How long have you been a widow?
It will be 4 years, June 23rd.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's why I see the tears in your eyes. Yeah, I see that. Okay. Okay, now, I don't know if I asked you this, but can you share with the singles what the hell? I know you said time. Don't, you know, and the next day is not promised. Share with the singles and those that have intentions on being married again. What should we look for in a marriage? What should we look for? What should we constantly set our view on to sustain a marriage?
I would definitely say my marriage, for me personally, it has to be faith-based.
Yes.
Because without that, you're gonna have rough days with faith, but without faith, I don't know. It's double. So definitely faith-based. You know, hopefully have a covering over your home. You know, and just communicate, love authentically, forgive, and forgive. You're gonna forgive. You gotta compromise. You're gonna have to sacrifice. You know, and you're gonna apologize for some things that may not have been your fault, but that's okay too. You know, and so I just, you know, and definitely someone who is committed to you and the relationship, and not just on the surface, because so many young people now, you know, they want to get married because of, you know, the gown and the reception and the friends and the ring.
So new.
And the reality of that ring is a lot of stuff comes with that ring. A lot of things come with that ring, and without that ring, you know, you have to be able to have something substantial to hold on to, because my question is, you have the ring, you have the wedding and all these things, but what happens when sickness comes? do you have enough? Are you going to just up and leave?
There you go. Right.
Because there might be some, you hear people all the time and say, oh, I can't deal with that, or I'm not going to take care of him or have to feed him. You don't know what you may have to do. But that's where your faith in your marriage is tested. Can you stick by him? Can he stick by you when you can't do for yourself?
When things aren't on the straight and narrow
path.
Right.
Everybody wants, 700 credit scores and big homes and all this. But you could be 700 today, and in 60 days you could be in 500.
Right.
You could lose your job tomorrow.
Right.
What's the foundation of your marriage? You have to make sure that foundation is firm and that you all have something and that you're going to work together.
Faith-based and love.
And true love. Not this superficial love that everybody's floating around and everybody's running. No, people don't have the attitude of sticking with things anymore. And it's
stick-to-itness. Yeah.
No stick-to-itness. It's very drive-through. And if you upset me and you do something that I don't like, I'm done. I can't take this. I can't take this.
Listen, singles, listen.
That's not what the vows say.
Right.
It's for the good and the bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you have to know that those vows are real. I think that we don't do enough emphasis on what those vows really mean. People say them very, and in the vows, when the minister is giving the vow, the marriage is not to be gone into lightly.
That's right.
But people do. They go into it, and they go into it with an attitude of, okay, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll just get out of it.
Yeah.
But that's not what it was
easier
designed
said
to be.
than done. Yeah.
That's not how it was designed.
Right.
And so I just encourage
not according
people,
to the word.
Not according to the word.
That's right.
And so I just encourage people to really search your heart. Make sure that this is that you're doing it for all the right reasons, and that if he didn't have a dime, and if he didn't have his health, and if he, when that physique is gone.
Yeah, preach, girl.
You know what I mean? People get married for all these things because she has this and she has that. But you let some time come and some stuff will start shifting. But what do you have some substance in your relationship?
That's right.
And that's the type of thing. I spent days and days at my husband's bedside. Yeah. He was alert and we would talk, and he was still basically running home from the computer and the iPad, but he just couldn't come home at the time. But being able to be there, and to do that, and and even at the hospital, a lot of the nurses and doctors said, I've never seen such a dedicated young woman.
Yes.
I see some older husbands here, the wives aren't here.
Yeah.
But I just felt like I had to be there.
Yeah.
And I would go get my hair done and fix myself up, because when I came in there, I wanted him to see me the way he saw me. I didn't come in there broke down.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, that helped me.
Yeah.
But it also helped him.
Yeah.
And so it was the love. And it was the true love and the commitment. Because you can love somebody from across the street.
That's right.
I can love you from over there.
That's right.
But if I'm committed to you, then I'm committed to you come what may. It's unconditional.
Right.
It's unconditional.
Oh, I love it. You're awesome. Robin, can you give Connie some encouraging words, please? Give her some nuggets.
Connie encouraged me.
She sure has. I just want to jump up and hug her. Oh my God.
No, I would just say, just keep your hand to the plow, because truly your ministry is needed.
Yes.
As things are going crazy in this world, more and more young people are losing their spouses.
Absolutely.
And, even the young people and couples, are taking all the things you said. So just keep doing what you're doing. Allow God to use you, and I cannot wait for April 21st.
I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to sharing. I really am.
Yes. And one last question.
Yes.
Will you ever consider marrying again?
So, it's interesting. If you'd asked me this question 3 years ago, my answer would have been absolutely not. Now that I've grown and some time has gone on, I would definitely be open to but it has to be somebody who, because premature widow to me is this is like my child. It's like my baby. And so he's got to be aligned with this purpose.
Yeah.
Because this is going to go on, married or not.
Yeah.
Because there's still going to be women that come behind me that I'm going to have to reach back and pull in.
Right.
And so, I just believe, I always say, my husband was a wonderful man. And, I'm like, oh my goodness, will I ever? And I'm often reminded of the Ty Tribbett song, if he did it before, he can do it again. And so I'm just standing on that. And if it's God's will, then I'm open to whatever he says.
Amen. So that's Miss Connie. She did an awesome job. Almost had me in tears, but I held it back. I just want to hold her hand.
Thank you.
And she encouraged me so much, so much. So I encourage you again to come see this wonderful lady amongst the rest of us that's going to be there on April 21st at the Greenbelt Marriott. This is going to be an awesome relationship conference. If you don't have the flyer, you can check out Reverend Robin's page, Paula Mason's page, Rashonda Bailey's page. We need you there. This is something that is definitely needed in the DMV with the real women of the DMV. Be blessed.